this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Get It Right Texoma with the Trio B, Mike Hendren, Terry McAdams, Trey Serrala. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Glad to have you with us once again. Guys, how you doing?
It's wonderful. Now we've had this kind of crazy little heat. Now we're going to get some cool. Mm-hmm. Got a cold front moving in. Supposed to get a little bit of rain this weekend. And
yeah,
now we're recording this on
March 14th.
March 14th.
Yep.
So next week, if it drops next week and somebody goes, the hell are you talking about? It's going to be beautiful and sunny this weekend.
Yeah. That's
right. It's supposed to rain this weekend. I don't know about next weekend.
Okay. Yeah. That mower I bought from you is just, if it rains too soon this weekend, I'm not going to be able to use it.
I've used mine twice already.
Well, I know, but I have not had time during the week. It's the weekend. It rained last weekend. It's going to rain.
Yeah.
Man.
Come on with it.
Well, the good news is now that the time has changed. So you can mow in the evenings, or people can mow in the evenings. I mean, I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I'll go home and then I'll mow, and if I get part of it done and then mow the next day, I've done that over time. Mow till it's dark. Or we can hook you up with some lights on that, Terry.
Okay, well, yeah.
There's light kits for the mowers.
Okay.
And I wonder where he can get those light kits at.
You could go, of course, get them at Eddie Hill's Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott, downtown Wichita Falls, since 1966.
EddieHillsFunCycles.com.
And speaking of where we are, we're sitting in the MacTech Solutions studio.
We are, the MacTech Solutions studios here in Wichita Falls. And we certainly hope if you're in the local area and you need you need help with one of your Apple products, you need repair, you need service, MacTech Solutions is a place to get it done. You can buy everything Apple here except an iPhone.
We fix them.
And now we're talking about shameless plugs. I mean, so you come down here, you get your iPhone, and your headphones, so you can listen to you while you're mowing, to your AirPods
that's it.
While you're mowing. Yep. But then when you're done mowing, you're hungry for something sweet, and where can you go?
Well, I got this little place called Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop. Right. Yes.
Tee up.
Made to order.
And then, you have to have if you want to have a nice party to use those, you might need a new house, and so
that's right.
Yep. And if you have a business or an organization that you need to get the word out about.
Yeah, Hendren Media Solutions. Man.
Multifaceted.
Gosh, I'm just not busy enough. That's my problem. I'm not busy enough. I don't know. I think I spend too much time sleeping. That 4 hours a night is just too much.
I was going to say, quit wasting your time. You can sleep when you're dead.
Oh, no kidding. I've heard that a lot, actually. Anyway. Well, we do talk about a lot of local stuff on our podcast, as well as, regional, national, international, interstellar, intergalactic, Spock drops in every once in a while.
There was supposed to have been a meteorite news on one of the groups in town. What hit the northwest sky, something like that, a green streak, UFO, who knows. But anyway, just saying that.
I'll tell you what, when I was in college, long time ago, one of the you had to take elective courses, and I took this course on astronomy.
Yes, I had that.
And we would go out. There were probably 3 or 4 times over the course of a semester. We would go out really, really early in the morning, like 2-3 a.m. in the morning, and observe the night sky. And we'd always meet up somewhere far enough away from town that you kind of get away from the light pollution and you can really see some stuff. And we would invariably, every time we would see at least 1 or 2 things streaking across the sky. And the guy, I can't remember who the professor was or the instructor that was teaching us. I have no idea I can't remember his name
Mr.
now.
Sulu or something like that.
I could have been. He told us, he said, more often than not when you see that, it's actually space junk. It's debris re-entering the atmosphere.
Yeah. Speaking of, just actually last week, there was a battery pack from the International Space Station
this.
Had been for months now, has been rotating around, and they weren't quite sure where it was going to come down, but I guess it ended up coming into the atmosphere finally, and they were tracking it. NORAD tracks all that space junk.
And there's a lot of it.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, but sometimes it's just a small grain, the size of a grain of sand.
Weren't they concerned that battery pack was going to hit in Germany or something and crash into?
Well, they lower. It was like 1 in 10 or something. I forget.
Remember the Germans picked it in World War I and World War II. It's time for Maybe it's time for a little bit of just a reminder.
Land on someone.
Don't start it again.
I would have landed right on someone's Wiener Schnitzel.
That's Wiener.
Wiener Schnitzel.
By the way,
Everything sounds so angry in German.
Everybody says shooting stars. Obviously, that's not a star. It usually is a meteorite or space junk or something like that that's re-entering the atmosphere.
Yeah,
and that's why you see that streak, because it's when it's re-entering the atmosphere.
Hey, the Redneck Culinary Academy. You guys got a big membership drive going on. This is something Trey's been involved with for a few years.
Yeah, actually, it's a pretty good. It's a great organization. Do a lot of charity cooking, volunteer fire departments, veterans organizations, and things like that.
Yeah.
And so if you want to come out and join us, great group of guys come out, and we cook. Fish is our specialty. We do fish. But then we also do chicken fried steak. We do several different things. So
is that catfish?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catfish.
And we have our own fryer and stuff like that. But if you're interested,
feeders.
Just get a hold of me, Eddie Hill's Fun Cycles, and we'll get you hooked up as long as you're a person of decent standing, I guess. We can. Well, you don't have to be that good at standing, obviously, looking at our membership. They'll let me in. But as long as you don't have if your rap sheet is longer than your arm, you can't be in.
Yeah.
If it's shorter, you're probably okay. That's what we do. You hold your arm out, put the rap sheet down, and we'll see.
Something below elbow length.
Yeah.
Okay.
And frankly, if you don't have one, you probably don't qualify either.
Okay. All right. Wichita Falls Chamber of Commerce, they're defining our culture meeting or seminar, whatever I'm not sure what this really is going to be, but it's going to be April the 10th and the 11th. And you can reach out to the chamber if you want some more information on that.
Yeah, they're looking for people. They're looking for people that are in the community to come together and talk about this. I think it's going to be a 2-day workshop.
It is,
and they're going to talk about what's going on, defining the culture of Wichita Falls and really not just Wichita Falls, the Wichita Falls area, and to see what people are looking for, what businesses need, what we need to attract people, what we need to do to keep people here.
We had mentioned. I don't know, 1 or 2 podcasts ago, we were talking about this impending ban on TikTok that Congress was considering. And, on the 13th, the day before we were shooting this video, the U.S. House has passed a bill calling for TikTok to either be sold off or dissolved, one or the other. Either get rid of it or sell it off. And now, it was a fairly bipartisan support. It was I think it was well over 300 votes in favor of this. Now it goes to the Senate. It's looking pretty good, supposedly, that the Senate could actually take action on this. And if they do, let's say TikTok does get sold off. I mean, more than likely, one of the other major social media platforms, I would think, would try to snatch it up.
Yeah.
It would seem logical they would.
This is something that I thought I've been thinking about for a while on these social media platforms. And especially in TikTok because it's owned by the Chinese or controlled by the Chinese government. I'm not for censorship. I'm a big anti-censorship person in most cases.
Yeah.
But we do have rules and some laws in place, and we really you'd have to talk to somebody who's an expert on this regarding cults. And I'll be honest with you.
Cult?
Cult.
C-U-L-T.
Yes,
okay.
Just want to
make sure. Okay.
Yeah, not a cult, not a baby horse.
Okay.
A cult. In some ways, and I'm not saying I'm not drawing an exact parallel, but in some ways these are almost tantamount to a cult because they're specifically targeting people with information. And the days of on the radio, on your phone, you could just turn your TV or whatever. You don't like what's being said, turn it off. But when people are walking around with that phone in their pocket, I guess you can turn it off, but it's become part of our lexicon and part of the way people do business and do things. It's less likely to expect for people to turn their phones off. But yet these companies are targeting people, especially young people, with specific information. And when you go to the targeting side, it's one of those deals. If you just say it's all open and you can pull up and look at anything you want, that's one thing. But we have evidence that they're targeting people, that they're sending specific information and keeping specific information away from people and targeting people with specific information.
Sure.
And at that point, let me finish. I'm not saying I'm simply saying at that point, that is similar to what cults did. Cult would take people, and they would keep certain information away and target people with certain information.
Well, what cult leaders do is they seek to exploit weaknesses in people. They find weaknesses in individuals and use those weaknesses to entice them, to target them, to pull them in, draw them in, and then control them.
What does TikTok do? They exploit weaknesses in people.
Now, I will tell you, in the advertising realm, targeting takes on a whole different meaning in that you identify very specific needs, wants, desires of a particular demographic, and you gear advertising toward that demographic based on what those needs, wants, and desires are. We are able, from the advertising side, I can speak to this because I've done it for so long. We are able to collect more data on more people today than we've ever been able to collect before. Part of the reason we're able to do that is because so much of that data and so much of that information has been freely given over to us. When you sign on to a social media platform, you'll see this a lot on Facebook. People will post these things about, I do not give Facebook permission to use my blah, 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 whatever.
Doesn't do any good.
It does. That is absolute hogwash. The moment you sign up for a social media platform, in checking those little boxes and those consents and so forth, you're already giving that platform permission to use your information, to share your information, and to target you with advertising specifically geared toward your search habits, your what pages you join, what information you look for,
how long you stay on a particular image, and your actual behavior of scrolling back and forth.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute.
Now, that's not to say that you don't get targeted with advertising that has absolutely zero relevance to you at all, because you do. Everybody does. At some point, things get kind of muddled up. But a lot of what you will see on those platforms that these pop-up ads and whatnot, that is targeted to you based on behaviors, based on searches, based on information that you freely handed over. So in that respect, people are giving consent to be targeted in that way.
They're being targeted for goods and services.
Yes.
In advertising.
Yes.
TikTok's not targeting
people. What are they? Give me an example of what you're talking about. I mean, anything in the...
No, I don't look at TikTok. I don't mess with it.
No,
what I'm simply saying is, but I've read plenty of things that they're targeting people literally to keep them on TikTok. For instance, the Chinese government has, and here's the big difference. If you say, okay, in China, TikTok is open and everything that's on TikTok you have access to. But their citizens don't.
No, they do not.
When you're doing differentiated targeting, that's where I have a problem with it. I'm just posting this thing out there. I'm just simply saying.
In that regard, you're absolutely right.
You're doing differentiated targeting.
You're right.
If it's uncensored, it's uncensored.
Right.
But if you're censoring for some people and not for others, what's the nefarious? Why is the reasoning behind that?
Well, and
there's got to be a nefarious reason.
They want to make money.
They're not. How are they making money?
In the United States, they make money on advertising.
I'm talking about target. Who makes money on advertising?
TikTok.
Are you sure?
Well, they've got to be generating revenue somewhere.
Yeah, by selling your information. But
that's true.
They're not advertising. They're not making money getting advertisers.
No, they don't do it. They do not generate ad revenue in the same way Facebook does.
That's what I'm
getting
at.
But one of the things that they do, and we know already that Google engages in this, Yahoo engages in this, other platforms engage in this. They will deliberately, search engines will deliberately filter out certain content in China or other parts of the world that they would not filter out here.
Now, wait a minute.
Look, I'm not saying that this is a full conceived thing. My passive racism versus active racism, that's fully conceived. I feel, and I would debate anybody with that sort of stuff. This is not something. I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not ready to debate this area, and I'm not ready to follow my sword on it.
No.
But I did throw it out there to pause it as a discussion.
Okay. Well, let me add a little tech perspective onto this. First of all, they're doing nothing different than the other guys.
Facebook and so forth.
So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all of them Now you're saying they don't do, but they can't. Sure, they can sell your information, but they do ads.
I didn't say they don't. I never said they don't. I don't know. I've never been on TikTok. So I didn't say they don't.
But I think what I'm
saying is, if the government, if the entity that owns it is saying. And by the way, because it's a government-run entity, that's what's different.
Well, it's not government-run. It's okay.
Yes, it is.
No,
it's government-controlled. That one. There's no way you can tell me a Chinese-owned company is not government-controlled.
Then every single company that's out there that does business that makes manufactures something that's based in China is also the same thing.
Here's what I believe happens with China. The Chinese government does not allow anything to happen in their country that they don't approve of.
Right.
If it does not get their stamp of approval, it ain't going to happen. Plain and simple. That's why you have the filtering of certain content from various platforms in China that you would not have in the United States or in Western Europe or other places, is because they want to control what their citizens are seeing and what their citizens are absorbing. Okay, whatever. But at the same time, though, in order to do that, some entity of the Chinese government has got to have some sort of technological oversight and or control of the platform. In order to ensure that filtering is taking place, someone with some level of authority within the Chinese government has got to have some kind of control over that platform. And so it stands to reason that if they do have that level of access to the platform, or platforms, multiple, then they also have access to the data that's flowing through that platform. And so the Chinese government can, and I think it stands to reason, they can and they do access people's data and exploit that data. And we already, here's a kind of an older example. We know that a few years ago, and I think this was probably close to a decade ago, there was a major breach in the Pentagon that was traced right back to the Chinese government. Some entity within China, supposedly with the full knowledge and consent and nod of the Chinese government, hacked into a server within the Pentagon. And they came really close to being able to access some like top secret stuff. Mm-hmm. They were stopped short of it, supposedly. But we know they got in there, and it leaked out that, yes, the Chinese government had some hand in that. Okay, so they hacked a server in the Pentagon. Everybody's like, well, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that's national security stuff. Well, listen, if they can, and I think we could probably all agree that probably no one has better cybersecurity measures in place than the federal government in most respects. Well, hell, if they can get past that, they can get past anything. If they can get that kind of information, they can get anybody's information.
Well, let's let we've got a guess. Let's let Terry have the last word on this deal.
I haven't had a chance to say anything.
Go ahead.
I think Terry needs to have the last word on it because we have a guest. We're going to do our next podcast with a different guest.
So, all right. First of all, they're doing nothing different than Facebook and all the other social media platforms. They do sell advertising. I'm on their website. Okay, just to be clear. It's not just about selling your data, first of all. Second of all, your protections that are on your Android and on your iPhone, they're not, and again, I'm giving a plug in a way to the security of Google for this, for their platform of the Android devices. But Apple, we know, has got leads in that to protect your own, or give you the tools to help you protect your stuff. Right. You do make the choices about what you do. And yes, we all should I don't care what platform it is, you need to be aware of what your kids are doing and put controls on that. And adults also have to be aware of that. I don't see any difference in what these guys are doing. ByteDance is the company that owns TikTok. Yes, I do not at all argue with the idea that ByteDance itself is, whether they're directly owned, because I think they're even a subsidiary and all that, but in the United States, a different company than what it is in China. But I just want to say that yeah, they have nefarious. The government itself has probably got some nefarious want to target us. But how are they targeting us any differently? Except the difference is the motivation, and I'll grant you that there could be a motivational difference in trying to get there. But they're not getting any more information than what Google knows a hell of a lot more about you than you and any of us want to even realize or understand. No. So don't. I think this could be a slippery slope. And if there's some precedent, and I'm still learning on this, I'm willing to give in on that. But I just don't see any difference in what they're doing, and they're not getting any more information than the other guys. That's already been that is a political ploy, and I'm not for the Chinese. Please don't even assume that. And I just don't think that there's any difference from a technological standpoint.
I will.
I just leave it at that.
I'm not disagreeing on the technological standpoint. But and I'm throwing it out here, and because I want everybody to think about it. I just threw this out this morning.
I got you.
What the difference between a cult and a religion? Hang on. Is what are they doing? What is their intent with what you're doing? Well, sure. Are they trying to control you? Are they trying to control your behaviors more than just your buying habits? Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. That's all I just wanted to throw it out there. Okay. Well, I did. Like I told you, I didn't spend a bunch of time thinking on this, and that I researched it and all because I didn't. But when I wanted to throw it out there for a talking point.
I will say this though: we do need to be careful though when it comes to any kind of censorship or forced sale of a company. You do need to be careful because you may be opening a door you don't want to.
Absolutely, no. I'm a big anti-censorship.
You got to be really careful with
enforcing the sale of something. It's kind of like on the idea of taking somebody's land. We got to be extremely careful of doing it.
You really do. We're going to wrap this one up
here.
But
there are laws that we do at times.
Yes. No, I got you.
All right, we're going to wrap this one up here. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, if you're watching us on YouTube. Thank you for doing that. You can also get us on Spotify and Apple Podcast as well. And the next episode of Get It Right Texoma coming your way very soon. Until then, take care. We will see you down the road.